Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series, Interviews with Aurovilians. Today I'm very honored to have with us Linda and Mike. They have an extraordinary story to tell, and I've read everything you sent me, so I'm aware of so much. Linda is, of course, a doctor, and we'll get into all the things that you do. And Mike is also doing a very important work in Auroville, because Auroville needs a clear understanding of a new way of business. So let me ask you to introduce yourselves in any way you like.
So I'm Linda Lee, and Mike and I are both from South Africa. I've lived in the French West Indies on a boat for 11 and a half years. Then I went back to South Africa. I met Mike, and we've been married for 17 years. And I started off as a massage therapist, and then I went into doing yoga, teaching yoga, doing yoga therapy, and I then decided to become a doctor of Chinese medicine. So I went to university for 6 years, and I've become a doctor of Chinese medicine. And I had a private practice in Cape Town. And then Mike and I had been coming to India for many years. And then we came to Pondicherry on a brief holiday, and then to see how we would find Auroville. And then we saw a big poster that said Om Choir on the 1st of January at the ashram. So Mike and I thought, well, let's go and experience that. So we came to your Om Choir on the 1st of January that you held here at the ashram. We enjoyed it so much, and we felt that the way the Om Choir had gone, your passion for the ashram, for the mother, for Auroville, inspired us to inquire more into Auroville, as well as the ashram, as well as Pondicherry and what was happening here. So Mike and I then spent, I think we came here 3 or 4 times, Mike, subsequent to that. And coming
What was the initial year that when you came to the Om Choir on January 1st?
I can't remember. It would have been in, Mike?
15, I think.
15 or 16? Right?
2015.
2015, maybe?
It was 2015.
Was it
that year.
2015? I couldn't, because we've been coming to India, and actually when Mike and I got married in India. So that was so our love
2000.
affair with India started off with us getting married here, and then coming to Pondicherry and being introduced to the Om Choir, being then sort of inspired into looking more into what Auroville was, what the ashram had to offer, and coming back and forth a few times before we decided that we would come and start off in Auroville as volunteers, and then see how we would progress from there.
How many years have you been here now?
This will be our fifth year. Yeah. So we've been here for 5 years. We started off on the volunteer project through Savi. We did the 6 months of the volunteer. Then we went into the newcomer period.
Process.
Did the newcomer for the 1 year, and then became Aurovilians. And so here we are.
I understand that you felt more of a calling towards Auroville than to be in the ashram.
To be honest, it's a difficult answer, a difficult question to answer. I feel a lot for the ashram, very much so. But I think I've got to look at the practicalities of how we live in the whole process. And to be able to live in Auroville, but to be able to have that link with the ashram, to me is very important. very important indeed. And I have friends in Auroville that also have that link where they are basically working around that link between Auroville, the ashram, and living that life on a regular basis.
Tell us a little bit about your work.
Well, my work at this point in time is that I want to make use of my experience. It's not the academic qualification. That is immaterial. It's the experience that you have, because the experience is the only thing that you can pass on. You can only pass it on in a practical way, and repetition, holding hands and working with a person. So at the moment, that's what I'm doing. I'm really helping in a bit of unit activity and work to help them overcome the problems that they are having at the moment. The problem is that they are landed into a situation which is beyond their scope. They are not trained to be able to do that. They're not trained to run a business or to understand the left or right of money or whatever it is. It's not their driver. Their driver is actually their profession or their work that they do, X, Y, and Z, or why they came to Auroville. And I've got a mixture of people from this side to that side with a person that's been in Auroville for 40 years. And they realize that the time has come for change. And they're finding that process of change difficult because there have been no guidelines within Auroville up to a point. No specific guidelines, no process to help them go through. So that's really where I'm fitting into that niche where I can help them and hold their hands and help them understand the part of business that is very important. And we've got to understand a very important thing is Auroville up to now has been driven via a system which is historical. 2019, 2020, 21, we had COVID. The whole world changed.
Yes.
Everything went online. We had to now go through that process. And then the point came that the world has just speeded up even more. The government of India has put restrictions and ways that we have to run business, which is, as I understand it, we have to adhere to the laws of India. So if the Indian government says you've got to do something this way, you do it. Even if you are running your unit in Auroville, you're still under the Auroville Foundation, as I see it.
That is correct.
And you have to...
Not there to make money for money's sake.
Not to make money for money's sake. I've got friends that have said to me, Mike, I'm not frightened of making money. But we have to then use that money in the right way. We have to pay our contribution to Auroville, we have to employ people, and we're going to have excess capacity. Then we would like to be able to give direct donations towards certain things that really interest us. Like I had a meeting with someone today, and he said to me, Mike, the schools need money. The schools need computers. The schools need fans in the rooms. They need all these things. He would be very happy to work to generate the money, to cover his expenses, to pay his Auroville contribution or whatever it is, and then give specific donations to the school to cover certain costs. And I'm sure Linda would do the same in relation to medical things. That's the way it goes. So my process and my want is to keep myself occupied in Auroville on a daily basis and being able to, in very simple terms, mentor or work with people and drive them through helping. And of course, once again, the most important thing is setting up the structures within their units, which is so important. Because what I am finding now is that with the lack of experience of doing things, they don't understand the fact that they're spending so much time putting out fires on certain administration problems. So if you do it properly and you are proactive and you have that repetition and you have your staff trained in that process, it doesn't become a problem to you. You should then be able to spend your time, which you want to do, on the thing you love most. And that could be your profession, helping people, building something, X, Y, and Z. So that's how I see it.
Linda, you have helped me so much with acupuncture. Could you give us a fairly long comment on how you learned Chinese medicine, how you work, how your life is in quiet?
Well, I studied at the University of the Western Cape in Cape Town, and at the time, the department that ran the Chinese medicine department, what had happened there was the Chinese government was very interested and still is interested in promoting Chinese medicine in Africa. There's a lot of African countries that only use Chinese medicine as their healthcare or their first go-to health care. And what they did was they sent the lecturers out from China to teach us. So they came from China. It was obviously quite an experience for them as well as for us. And then my main lecturer, Dr. Lee, who taught me the Chinese herbs, she was already in Cape Town. So we were then trained by the Chinese, and I believe that we were trained very well. It's a university degree. And then I went into private practice and then came to Auroville. I like the acupuncture very, very much because, as you have said yourself, it's highly effective. So when we were training and we had our training clinics were in the African townships, where our clinics were the busiest clinics that out of everybody. And we kept asking, why are we so busy compared to the clinics or the other modalities that were available? And the simple answer that we got back was because it works. And that was, we try this, we try that, but we keep coming back because it works. And we see this, your success rate is very good. So that naturally inspired us as we were students to see how our modality worked so well. And then, I didn't realize when I came to India that acupuncture is not very common in India. And I was surprised about that because in actual fact, acupuncture came out of India, not out of China. And a lot of people I have subsequently found out didn't actually realize that. So it seems that the acupuncture is the one thing that has not grown along with the other Ayurvedic practices. So I've come here as well in the hope of reviving that, introducing acupuncture into the culture, to say it actually came out of India, not out of China originally, and that acupuncture is a modality that can fit very well with allopathic medicine, with Ayurvedic medicine, with homeopathy. So you can use, you as the patient can choose a modality that you would prefer. So you could be taking a homeopathic remedy, you could be taking a flower essence remedy, you could be taking allopathic medicine, you might be taking anti-inflammatories for pain management. And the acupuncture works very well in conjunction with it. Physiotherapy and acupuncture work very well together if it's musculoskeletal things. And I think what Mike was saying as well is that at the end of the day, it's not so much what we practice, it's more the experience that we bring. So whether Mike is looking at a unit or looking at an activity or looking at a health service in Auroville or anywhere for that matter, it's really at the end of the day an art. We can, my academic background, not to whatever, but I graduated summa cum laude. So I graduated, I really know my medicine. In other words, what I'm trying to say is my academic background is incredibly strong. But what I practice on my patient, it's an art form. You can learn as much as you like about numbers. You can learn as much as you like about the acupuncture point is just here or do this. But when you come to me as a patient, you come to me as an individual, I have to look at you in that way. So my practice is an art form. So when Mike and I work together, we're coming with all of those years of experience, and then we're looking at where the person or their staff, depending, that's not what I do, where are you and what would you need from us? How would we look at that, and how would we come from that place of our practices are now an art form? So that's how I would put it, and that gives us the joy of the practice. Comes then, in the beginning you have to use your academic background. Obviously, I mean, you need to know these things, but over a period of time, it becomes an art form, and I think that is the one thing that I would like to always. Or I don't know how to put this. That is the one thing I would like to share as a medical profession, because I'm a qualified doctor of Chinese medicine, to say all doctors at the end of the day are actually doing an art. It's not actually a science, it's an art. And that's the beauty of when your practice flowers to that place where your patient feels that they're being treated in that way. You're not just a number, or you're not just the man who has the sore knee or the woman who has the headache or it's you don't look at that. You don't look at them from that point. How can I scientifically treat you? You know that already, that's your background, but it's more than looking at that person and saying, it's an art form now of how do I help you? Sorry,
It sounds
please.
very holistic.
It's holistic, yes. That's quite a long discussion.
But actually, you treat the entire person then,
Yes, you would.
as holistic doctors would.
Yes, you treat the whole person.
Is intuition a major part of it?
Yes, I think that's where I would say where intuition, it is a bit of a difficult word, but at the same time, that's where the practice of medicine becomes the art form. Because then you're coming from that intuitive place. And the issue is that there's a difference between a brain-based practice and a heart-centered practice. So although when you come to me as a patient, I would use my brain-based processes to be able to understand what it is that you're telling me, the location, etc. But then it has to shift into the heart-centered way of that I look at you as you're saying as a whole human being, with all that encompasses. But when you're talking about the intuitive part, I would say probably, to put it in practical terms, is that I hold your wholeness, or when I'm treating you, even if you can't. And that is very powerful, just to simply say, I'm holding your wholeness when I'm treating you as a whole person. Yeah, I'd put it that
I have
way.
many more questions for you, but I'd like to go to Mike for a bit more. How do you use intuition?
That's a very good question.
Just put him on the spot a bit.
I think I'll give you a practical example. I was called in and someone said to me, Mike, look at this. So I looked at it and I said, well, professionally using this, and this is your problem. So he looked at me and said, it's taken you 10 minutes to look at that and tell me this is my problem. So I said, yes. So he said, well, it's taken me 3 months to work it out. And I've been trying to do this X, Y, and Z. So I said, fine. I said, so now we've got a base to start from. And then the intuition started kicking in. The actual knowledge, the actual process, the whole process started knocking in for me, and the experience. And then I started guiding him in a certain direction. And it was very clear from that point, it then went into a bit of intuition that the problems were much deeper in the organization. And so I've approached it on a whole basis, like Linda does it as well, and we're having amazing results now. It's turning very nicely. The whole process is working. We're putting in the systems that should be there, that you should work. So the intuition has come through. And when I look at certain things, the intuition comes through and says there's something very wrong here. So, and I apply that, and it's applying across the board at the moment to everyone I work with. So,
Was disharmony a part of it?
very much so. And I'll tell you another story about it. It's a common thread through everything that I'm doing. It's a people problem. It's a people problem. So it's disharmony within, and it's a people problem. It's a lack of being able to communicate. It's a lack of having the right people in the right place. It's a lack of education. It's a whole process. It's a very complex process that they're going through and that we're all going through at the moment. Is you just can't plug something. You've got to, how can I put it? There's got to be a bit of human heart behind it.
Yes, and not the ego.
Not the ego at all. Well, that's another story. We won't even go into that part of it.
I'm hitting you a little hard.
No, you're
It's good.
100%
It's
right.
good for us.
Yeah.
People must know all the work that you're doing so devotedly in Auroville.
To be very honest with you, it's hard times, but I must be honest, I'm at the most happiest of my life at the moment.
Of your life.
Yes, and Linda would agree with me. It's not a problem. Even when I was in private practice in Cape Town, and I had a very nice cross section of clients, it was a drag to get going. I really enjoy my work I'm doing, the people I'm working with, and the fact that I can live within the Auroville environment. I can come to Pondicherry, I can do all these things and come down to the ashram once in a while. And but for me, can I just turn the conversation a little bit?
Surely.
My wife is superbly competent in her job, very well trained, but she also spends a lot of time reading. And she's looking at things on a broader spectrum to bring into her deliverable that she can deliver a better service to her patient. Am I correct?
Well, I think that's the what Mike said is that we are really in the best times of our lives. It's a really lovely place to be in when you have your, can I say it in this way, your career is really over. You know, we've had our careers for 30 odd years. We've been working. So you look at it and you go, we're not trying, neither of us are trying to build a practice anymore. That's, you know, that we had, it is now gone. So when you know, for Mike and I, that was the one main reason why we also came to Auroville. We were looking for a place, and then, as I said, you inspired us to look here. But both of us were looking at a place. We're saying we're both incredibly healthy. Mike is 67, I'm 63. We've still got many, many years ahead of us. We've got all of this experience. We would like to now turn it into a service, and we would like to feel we are sharing our years and years of experience to whoever would be interested. And then that's the thing, your practice becomes an art form, and that becomes a service in the community. So I think with Mike and I, we both found whether we would be in Auroville or whether we would be anywhere in the world, I think that people also don't feel threatened by us in the sense of, you know, it's not, well, like, would they be wanting something from us? You know how it can sometimes be. It's more like with Mike and I, we feel that those days are gone for us. Now it just becomes the service. And that's where, when you ask about the intuition, it's a very interesting question. It's that interesting question because when you start to come from that place, you're starting, it's also a very Chinese medicine thing, is that when you start aging, the blood starts to come to the heart and starts to feed the heart. So then you're living from a heart-centered place. And when you're living from a heart-centered place, this is the place of service. This is the place where you are saying in the community, I have these years of experience, my practice has become an art form, and I would like to share that with you. I would like for you to come to me if you need any health issue to be worked on, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's energetic, whether it's a combination of those things, and to feel really heard and acknowledged, and feel that I'm coming from that place. Half of the healing has already been done before I put the needle in. This is the thing.
You use the word service a lot. Could you also use the word offering?
You can use the word offering. It is maybe a softer, nicer word to say it's my offering. I think that another thing is that this is the heart-centered way. Is also it's my gifts that I have that I share with the world, and that's an offering, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You know, it's an offering to say, you know, Mike and I think somebody said to us, why are you bothering doing this? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just go and sit on the beach and lie on the beach and go for a swim and, you know.
Watch the mangoes grow on the tree.
Somebody said that, why don't you, what are you two doing? Why don't you do that? Well, you know, if I was to do that, I think after a week or two, I would start to think, you know, maybe if I'll offer a few acupuncture sessions to whoever might be around. But I think I may have entertained that before the COVID. But after the COVID and after all of the lockdowns, it becomes clear that our world has changed. It becomes clear that the younger generation are in a very, very difficult position, particularly mentally, emotionally. They have a lot of challenges that they're going to have to face. And we know that there are not many people with experience that could help them. So if we have that experience, or if we have been so fortunate in our lives to have a gift like that, we would like it to be shared
on.
for those people who would feel they would be interested.
I have so many more questions, so let me first ask, how do you like the feeling of the Quiet Healing Center, and why are you there?
I've always loved being down at Quiet. Mike and I, we went
Used to
there
stay
as
there.
guests. We stayed at Quiet as guests. I've been working down at Quiet, I think it's 4 years now, for 4 years. I've always been very happy working down there. I like the environment. It's lovely. I cycle down and get off my bicycle, and there's a beautiful sea. There's the lovely healing center. I feel like I have a good relationship with the people at Quiet. I enjoy, because it's not something that when you're in private practice that you have, I enjoy having lunch with all my colleagues as well, people that I've known over the years. We share with each other. We have a staff table. And so I enjoy that part. I have, I also do my private practice in Auroville, so I have a private practice, and then I work down at Quiet. I teach the somatics of yoga as well on a Saturday morning, which I really enjoy doing. And I also feel it's when I'm down at Quiet, it gives the opportunity for all Aurovilians to come and be treated. And they then have the opportunity of coming down and having acupuncture without having to contact me as in my private practice. And what I practice down at Quiet, which I've always loved, is, to me, when I'm down there, I'm practicing in a community clinic, and I love that. I've always loved that.
You loved it.
Even when I loved that, because when I trained, when I was saying we worked in the African townships where you're so busy and it's a community clinic. You've got people, you're treating people in the waiting room, on the floor, in the car, on the beds, whatever space that you can find. And I enjoy that. I like that community feeling. So that's what Quiet also offers me the opportunity of offering my acupuncture as a community clinic.
I would like to ask you, Mike, if you have been studying Sri Aurobindo or the Mother, any of their works.
Can I be very honest with you? I have not got into Sri Aurobindo yet. I have 1 or 2 friends that have been telling me, you must start doing some reading X, Y, and Z. And as far as the Mother, I haven't also done too much. Linda is the one that guides me through it. I've got friends. But for me, the big thing and the intrigue about the Mother and Auroville was the concept of we own nothing.
Mike, you meant the land belongs to nobody.
All right, the land
No,
belongs. But effectively, the ownership, we have no ownership. And that to me is just an amazing, coming from where I come from and how I've been trained, you hold on to everything you've got. And it becomes an asset of yours which you can then use. So for me, the whole concept of understanding of this non-ownership and observing it is a daily process. And to be honest with you, we have downscaled from what we had to where we are, and it's been an enlightening process. So, yes. So, to be honest with you, that's a truthful answer that I can give you.
Do you mind if I just jump in here?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I think it was what you asked us in the beginning. Why Auroville and not the ashram? And for Mike, he was completely and absolutely fascinated by this idea, the land belongs to nobody. And that was the sentence that kept running through Mike's mind. And he said, I want to go and live in a place where the land belongs to nobody. And that was what Mike was so enthusiastic to come to Auroville about. And Mike and I can truly, truly say this, is that we came from a big 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, big home into what we had when we were newcomers. We had a very small apartment with a balcony, and there was a kitchen and a balcony. And that's quite a big change. Mike and I just dived right into that, and we had, Mike and I were used to having our own bathroom. I had my own bathroom, Mike had his own bathroom, and we had to share this tiny little bathroom, and yet we managed it. And I think the important thing is that we were not unhappy. We were actually, when we look at it, like Mike and I are saying, spending those times, and it wasn't 1 week. We spent over a year and a half, and then we had a slightly bigger place, and now we live in a small apartment. And here we can say we're happier than we've ever been. So, and and that's a lot. We didn't know how we would feel. You don't know how you're going to feel until you experience that. So it's me. I used to read to Mike quotes from the mother. We'd lie in bed on Sunday morning when we were in South Africa, and we'd read the news and notes. And I'd read books. We read the news and notes, and we'd read about the mother or Sri Aurobindo or whatever came in. So that would be the main. Mike and I know a little bit more as well but I come from a yoga background, so I can see the similarities in the mother's writings as to how I understand or have been trained in yoga, and then I share that with Mike. But at the end of the day, when you simplify it down, to be happy with so much less, to live where Mike and I look at where we are and say that where we are right here, the land belongs to nobody. To be able to leave our apartment and walk across to the beautiful Matraminda Gardens and just look at that incredible garden, and to be able to walk in the gardens and to be able to feel that and feel that peace and be able to sit wherever and feel the natural world around us. I think that's it. That's more than enough for us. I would put it that way.
Well, I'm happy to say that I'm probably 18 years older than you, and I did the same thing. I had a beautiful home, huge home, on a 21-acre private lake.
Beautiful.
I built a garden called the Mother's Garden, and I had people come and meditate there all the time. And then there was a day when the signal was there. Sell it all.
Yeah,
Come to Auroville and live your life out.
I had exactly the same. It shocked Linda.
It's exactly with Mike. I mean, he says to me one morning, Linda, we're going to Auroville. So I said, yes, darling, I know we're going to Auroville in 3 or 4 years' time. No, we're going now. I said, well, my practice is really good. I was thinking 3 or 4 years' time, maybe. And Mike said, no, we're going now. So I had to think about it for a bit, and I thought, okay, well, I'll go along with this and see how this works out. Mike, we sold the house, we packed the container, we shipped the container, and we came. That happened all in what, 3 months?
Wow.
So you see, it's exactly what you did. The call came stronger for Mike than me, obviously. But and you've been here for how long now?
Well, I came in March 1st and then had to go back for a month or two, then came in July. But I spent the first 12 years of Auroville here, from 1969 to 1981.
Wow.
So that was the pioneering year,
Oh, yes, yeah.
when this was just a desert. There were a few palm trees scattered around, and that was all. So anyway, back to both of you. Can you tell me a little bit more about the procedure of acupuncture? I mean, you obviously have studied the body very thoroughly, and you know where there are points that react with other points. Can you just give us a basic overview? I know it's a big question.
No, it's not such a big question. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Do you mean, because I do get people ask me that, and I'm not quite sure. Do you mean when I'm needling, what am I doing? Is that what you mean? So if I insert a needle, what would I be doing?
Yes, I mean, and why are you inserting it in a specific
In a
place
specific
for
place.
a specific problem?
Okay, so so you're kind of asking what would that needle be doing? Okay, all right. So you might come. Obviously, the point selection is naturally based on what it is you're coming for. So acupuncture can be used for anything. So I know people think more of acupuncture as musculoskeletal. So because it's been researched mainly in musculoskeletal, but anything that you would go to a doctor for, whether it's an allopathic doctor, whether it's a doctor of homeopathy, Unani Tib, Ayurveda, you would come for acupuncture for the same reasons.
What about psychological?
Well, that's the important one, because there's now been so much more research done on the psychological, mental, emotional issues that respond so well to acupuncture. And as you know, as we know, seeing as we were talking about how we look at from a holistic point of view, there is not a physical symptom or a mental emotional symptom, they are not separated. So there will always be a little bit of both. So if you hurt your back, you hurt your back and your back sore over a very long period of time, that will bring some psychological issues, mild to moderate or to severe, depending on the condition. And the same as when we start off with any psychological or mental emotional issues, they will manifest physically in the body. So obviously acupuncture alleviates both of those issues. But particularly seeing as since COVID, there's been a lot of influence, a lot of research done on mental emotional issues using acupuncture. And then I also do the 5-point ear Narad protocol acupuncture that is used for addiction, that is in a community setting. And this field of addiction and trauma is growing so much worldwide, and acupuncture is being one of your first go-to modalities. So if you're asking about psychological issues, as we know in India, culturally speaking, people are reluctant to express that. It's not common to express those issues. You may not even express it to your family, but you won't do it in your community. So when you come to acupuncture, you don't really need to talk too much, and you don't really need to tell me. I can feel, I might ask a few things, and that's where the art form comes in again. It's how to feel the pulse, how to look at the tongue, how to frame a question, to see what response that you get, and you go, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then you needle those things. So you would choose the points, and everybody is different. And we have incredible results with depression, anxiety, addiction, traumas, and a lot of those issues manifest in digestive disorders. So you can treat the digestive disorder as well as the anxiety or the depression or the addictive tendencies. So there's just one thing where I would say is that where we're going now is, and that's where acupuncture fits in so well as yoga fits into this, is, but more so the acupuncture, because it's a non-verbal intervention. So how nice isn't that I can go anywhere in the world and I can treat people and I don't need to speak the language. And there isn't that's really, really, really powerful.
We have gone for a long time, but I'd like to continue a little more and ask you about working with young people.
Fantastic.
My expression.
I love it. I love it. It's the point is the very important thing is that's the opportunity of giving. It's how open they are to it, and I'm very lucky that I'm working with younger people that are just wanting to take the experience, to use it, to listen, and they challenge me. And sometimes I'm challenged in a situation where I say, you're right. I can't argue against that point, but I can only apply the experience. So what I'm doing is I'm giving them, as I see it in a very simple analogy, I'm giving them the railway line to follow. They can follow the railway line. That is, you can't deviate from the railway line, but you can add on all those extra things. And they've got lots of things that I don't. I mean, I'm not a computer fundi. I'm not a social media fundi. I'm not I'm not that literate on a mobile phone. They are far away. They're in another world and that. If you can bring it all together and combine that. And so I'm finding that it's wonderful working with them. The important thing is that we have to accept that we're working as a team for something better down the line. And that is sometimes a bit difficult to work. But once we've got the whole process together and we're working, they will then be able, as I said before, to focus on their speciality and rely on the older person to make sure that the railway and the railway carriage follows along and is just going along perfectly. I don't know if I've said that correctly, but that's how I feel very comfortable with it.
So collective harmony is very important.
Extremely, extremely. That collective, I've seen it in, and once again, I've mentioned to you, one of the biggest problems we have is the people and the disharmony amongst the people. Very, very important. Collective harmony gives the energy to go forward. I had a very good example of that. I'll just try and water it down. Is that we had to make a very important decision in the business that we were, and we were communicating it to the staff, and then I stood back and I asked the person to come and see me, and I said, we've got to think of the bigger picture. Think of the bigger picture. It may cost us a bit in the short term, but the bigger picture is that we're not going to have disharmony on Monday morning when they come back to work. We made that decision on the spot, and on Monday, all the workers came to work, and there's been no problem. The workforce is very comfortable in the situation they're in now. And that to me is, so there is harmony, and it's very important.
Where are you living now?
We live in Citadines.
Citadine? Oh, very close to the Matrimonio.
We actually look out
We
onto it.
see, from our balcony, we see the
Correct.
Matrimonio.
We sit out and I go up onto the roof on a regular basis to take pictures of the sunsets, which I love. So yes, and we're within 5 minutes of walking. We go out of Citadines and then we take the back entrance, the garden entrance into where, and cross the bridge, and then I go and sit next to the courts or the crystal area. It's very nice.
I knew Francis very well.
Yes.
He passed away recently.
Francis lives.
Oh, yes, he was on the first floor.
On the first
Yes,
floor. We're on the
yeah.
third floor.
Regular member of the home choir for years and years.
Oh.
And even when he could hardly walk, this fellow would help him. So, yes, I know many people at Citadine. Oh, thank you both for such a wonderful time. We've run almost 1 hour. Can you believe that?
We could have done lots more.
Are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share, Linda?
I'll leave it to you and then I'll say.
I think the last thing that you said would be the most important thing about the collective, a collective community. How do we find that coming back to what Mike and I came here for, of the land belongs to nobody? How do we collectively work together from a heart-centered place for the benefit of all? That's how I would think.
Do you find it working out? Or are there still many challenges?
I think there are still many challenges that I see. I wouldn't say we experience it quite as yet, but in smaller incidences you do find it. I think it's just that would be my work, I would think, going forward, is how to come live your life from that heart-centered place, or if you like to put it, yoga off the mat, or yoga on as well as off the mat. And you know how to, and once we live from our heart center, if we can listen from our heart center, if we can speak to each other from our heart center, that's when we find the more harmonious, balanced places in the collective. I put it that way. And you, Mike?
To be honest, we're going through a very difficult time in Auroville now, as very traumatic and difficult times. I have hope that we can all come together with one cause, which I believe we will. And the bringing together will give the energy and strength to go forward. And that energy and strength has to come through, driven by the older generation, that we can keep the younger generation in Auroville. We don't want to lose them. We want them to come through. So therefore, that energy will give them the opportunity of wanting to stay, but we have to help them as well. And so we've got to work on a collective way of going together. And as Linda and I have said, we came here to be part of a community. And we are feeling we are part of a community, and we're enjoying it.
Are you more of a heart-centered person or a mind-centered person? Tough question.
To be very honest with you, that drives it. But I'm learning to be, I think when it, I can be a Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. My wife knows that very much. She says to me, it's very few occasions that I actually expose my true self. And if I expose my true self, I can get rid of the mind and work from the heart. I'll be honest with you. I feel more comfortable working from the heart. You feel much better.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. Namaste. Namaste.
Pleasure.
Thank you for watching.